We are looking live at St. Francis de Sales School in North York. The school community is in mourning tonight. A staff member there died today after being diagnosed with COVID-19. We'll show you how the 67-year-old woman is being remembered tonight. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. Also ahead, Ontario lays out its purchase plan for COVID-19 vaccines.
We are expecting that we will receive shipments from both Pfizer and Moderna.
We've got the details on how many have been bought and when they could be coming to the province. Plus, a fight turns deadly not far from Christie Pitts Park. The latest on the police investigation.
Just kind of uprooting and moving entirely over to these new areas.
And ditching downtown for country quiet. The dramatic departure boosting home sales by more than 50% in two small Ontario counties. But we begin tonight with the first education worker in the province to die with COVID-19. The Ministry of Health releasing that information today after a 67-year-old staff member at a North York Catholic school passed away this morning. Kelda Yoon is live outside of St. Francis de Sales School tonight. And Kelda, what do we know about how the child and youth worker became infected?
This is a case of community transmission. Now, out of respect for the family's wishes, we are not revealing this woman's identity, but a source did tell us that she is 67 years old and she is believed to have had pre-existing conditions. Now, I also spoke to a school trustee who actually knew her well, and she said that this woman has been a pillar of this community, especially of this school, for decades, and that many people in this community, Chris, are in mourning tonight. The flag flies at half-mast outside St. Francis de Sales after COVID claimed one of their own.
This loss will be felt by hundreds of people in our community.
Local school trustee Ida Lee Preddy says she's been fielding calls from staff, families, and even a student.
This is a woman that always had a smile on her face, no matter what issue we were dealing with, the smile was always ear to ear, and she always had something positive to say.
One class of 19 students is now in self-isolation due to possible exposure to the virus. No outbreak has been declared at the school. Minister of Education Stephen Lecce tweeted his condolences earlier. Also today, he announced Ontario schools will not need to have an extended winter break, thanks to low levels of transmission. According to the Ministry of Health, 86% of schools have no reported active cases. 99.96% of students currently are COVID negative. 99.93% of staff currently are COVID negative.
My impression is that the outcome with getting the kids back to schools has been relatively successful, certainly better than I expected. But there is transmission in schools, and we can't let our guard down.
But Dr. Eileen Davila, Toronto's medical officer of health, says there are some worrying numbers among young people when it comes to COVID positivity rates.
For teenagers between the ages of 14 and 17, the percent positivity rate is 7.5%. For young people between the ages of 18 and 23, it's 8.2%.
Those figures noticeably higher than the overall Toronto average of 6.2%.
For parents, this is something to think about seriously.
Dr. Davila is urging parents to keep advising their children, especially teens, to take proper precautions, even when they don't seem to be listening. As to whether more should be done when it comes to schools, Dr. Dan Flanders doesn't think that kind of targeted intervention would have much of an impact.
But making interventions that target the population sort of across the province, so extending the Christmas and New Year holiday for 2 weeks for everyone, where everyone stays home and every member of the community possible stays at home and isolates, I think that could have the impact that we're looking for.
In the meantime, the 19 students here at the school will continue to self-isolate at home for the next week and a half. Now, support staff, they were also here today helping those students and the staff members who have been grieving, and they will be back here again tomorrow. Chris?
Another tough day expected for that school community. Thanks for this tonight, Kelda. As the COVID case count climbs across our region, again today, a frustrated Doug Ford warned another lockdown could be coming. Lorenda Redicop now with the Premier's dire warning tonight.
The situation is extremely serious.
The Premier obviously frustrated today with concerning numbers from Peel, Toronto and York, urging people not to socialize outside their household.
I've been saying that over and over again. Do not have birthday parties, do not have sleepovers with having kids' friends over. It's dangerous, and it has to stop. As I said, we're looking at lockdown.
The government announced more testing for long-term care homes starting next week. Every week in some regions, every 2 weeks for less restrictive green and yellow zones.
100% testing for every staff member, every single visitor that goes in there. No excuses anymore. It's not coming in through the ceilings, not coming in through the walls. It's coming in through the people visiting and the health workers.
Today, the province reported 32 more people died. 17 of them lived in long-term care homes. Over the entire pandemic, most of the people who've died were seniors.
I really do wonder if our attitude has really been ageist. And that really, if this were 32 children who died today, if we were taking a very different approach to what's actually been going on.
Talk of a lockdown comes just 2 days after the chief medical officer suggested the entire province could be in the green zone by Christmas.
Right now, when we're giving such mixed messaging, we might only end up with the choice of having a lockdown in the end, because we've been dithering so much and not doing the essential things we need to do.
He blames the government for not having adequate testing, contact tracing, and isolating people. Whatever measures could be added, it appears schools will not be included. A day after the education minister said they were looking at a possible extended winter break.
It's really hard to keep track of where this government is going and their plans. It's confusing, and it's causing a lot of anxiety out there for families.
One father feels maybe schools should have a longer break after the holidays, given the rate of community spread.
Families are going to gather, circles are going to expand, and as a result, the exposure is going to go up.
As for when we could hear about a potential lockdown,
we have to do something, and just stay tuned on Friday.
Lorenda Redicop, CBC News, Toronto.
As we closely monitor the Premier's plans Friday, we're also monitoring a glimmer of hope on the vaccine front. Today, the Health Minister explained Ontario's share of the doses.
We are expecting that we will receive shipments from both Pfizer and Moderna. There are significant issues with respect to the Pfizer vaccine in particular. It needs to be stored at -75 degrees Celsius and Moderna -20.
So despite those logistical challenges, here's the plan. Ontario is expecting 1.6 million doses of Pfizer's vaccine between January and March next year, and 800,000 doses of Moderna's. We also saw the final results of Pfizer's drug trial today. The company now says its vaccine is 95% effective against the virus. And now to a fight that turned deadly near Christie Pitts Park. A woman was stabbed to death and a man is in custody with serious injuries after the two got into a fight. The confrontation happened near a business in the area of Bloor Street West and Shaw Street just before 5 this evening. Police found the woman at the scene without vital signs. Officers tried to resuscitate her, but she was pronounced dead at the scene. The man was taken to hospital in serious but non-life-threatening condition. Investigators from the homicide unit are expected to take this one over. To Peel now, where police say they've dismantled a dangerous street gang responsible for a number of crimes, including murder. Dubbed Project Siphon, it focused on taking down the New Money So Sick gang.
This organization has been linked to some of the most thoughtless violence our community has suffered for the last several years.
That gang is linked to the killing of an innocent teenager last September. 17-year-old Jonathan Davis was gunned down in broad daylight in Malton. Peel Police says the operation involved 80 warrants across the GTA, and officers arrested 88 people and laid 800 charges. They include murder, drug and weapons offenses, 34 firearms, and nearly $1.4 million in cash seized, as well as nearly $2 million in drugs. Now to the trial of Alec Minassian, and today we got a glimpse inside the mind of the admitted killer. The court heard from a psychiatrist who interviewed the man behind the deadly Toronto van attack. Minassian is claiming that he should be found not criminally responsible for the rampage that killed 10 people and injured 16 others. Trevor Dunn now with the difficult details.
In the months after the deadly rampage shook the city, after the victims were mourned and laid to rest, Alec Minassian was interviewed by multiple doctors. Several will testify at his trial, starting today with Dr. Rebecca Chohan, a clinical psychiatrist. The defense is claiming Minassian didn't know the van attack was wrong because of his autism spectrum disorder, and therefore he shouldn't be found criminally responsible. Chohan found that Minassian suffered from several symptoms of the disorder, especially in social interactions and communication. In their 3 meetings in September 2018, she said Minassian's eye contact varied between not there and intense, which was a little bit unnerving, she said. Minassian spoke in a monotone voice, the doctor testified, and when he spoke about the deadly attack, Chohan said there was no emotion. This was in stark contrast to the severity of the index offense. Based on her assessments, Chohan believes Minassian suffers from mind blindness, which can be expressed as a lack of empathy. He did really seem to struggle with fully grasping the internal world of others and why they would be so distressed, she testified. Chohan told the court that Minassian admitted that he felt connected to mass murderer Elliot Rogers.
If I can't have you, girls, I will destroy you.
Because he said they both had autism, struggled to meet girls, and they were both lonely. The court also heard that Minassian told the doctor that at one point during the attack, he realized he was hitting random people, while it was his wish to hit more young, attractive females. Chohan said she asked Minassian how he felt about committing the violent act. She said he answered that he was happy and that it was worth it. The witness will now be cross-examined by the Crown. Trevor Dunn, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to the sleepless nights for GTA families with loved ones in Nicaragua. Back-to-back hurricanes are pummeling the Central American country. Talia Ricci shows how some Torontonians are mobilizing to help from afar.
Past 2 weeks have been hard, more so than the rest.
Watching the devastation from Toronto, Yamari Martin says she hasn't been sleeping, thinking of her family in Nicaragua.
Definitely, worried for my grandma back home. She's been staying with family after the death of my father, who died of COVID. There's no food, there's no water. There's people have been just going to coconut trees to drink.
Her family group chat normally consists of daily updates, but the silence the last few nights has been unsettling.
In the back of my mind, I'm like, okay, I know for sure everyone's okay. Everyone survived, but it's more so the aftermath, what comes next.
The death toll continues to rise after Hurricane Iota destroyed homes across Central America. It was the second Category 4 hurricane in 2 weeks that blasted Nicaragua's Caribbean coast.
The area that's most severely impacted is the Atlantic coast, which historically has been isolated from the main infrastructure routes.
Compañeros Partners is a local charity that has been on the ground in Nicaragua for years. They're linking their fundraiser to Giving Tuesday, which is happening next week.
We're giving money directly to Movimiento Nidia White. It's a girls and women's shelter on the East Coast, and through helping this center rebuild, we'll also help families reconstruct their homes and small businesses and get back on their feet.
So this is a family emergency kit. This is the box that actually goes to the family.
Global Medic volunteers were busy today assembling care packages for families in Central America, with items like toothpaste and a water purification unit.
Families that were poor to begin with probably lost more because of COVID. They're more adversely affected. And now they've been even more adversely affected because of multiple storms.
Red Cross has launched a fund too. Martin says she's grateful for large organizations coming together, but says a lot of grassroots groups will be making a big difference too.
You know somebody back home who knows somebody, that kind of idea, right? And it kind of ties in with the traditional practice that we have called pana pana, which means I give to you, you give to me.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, has the pandemic made you think about moving out of the city or even out of the GTA entirely?
I started wondering and sort of questioning the value of staying in Toronto.
After the break, we talked to someone who made the trek out west and why he's far from alone in looking for a new place to call home. Plus.
And we've got some much milder temperatures on the way. I'm meteorologist Colette Kennedy. Yes, it's going to be a little bit breezy, but guess how warm Thursday and even Friday are looking? The answer after the break.
Welcome back. Toronto real estate is famously expensive, and with the pandemic keeping people mostly confined to their often tiny spaces, real estate agents are starting to notice an increase in people cashing in on pricey properties and moving farther away. Lauren Pelly looks at where they're going in our new series, Communities After COVID-19.
This is John Keogh's new lifestyle on Salt Spring Island. Cycling trails, coastal sunsets, picturesque harbor towns, and a backyard view you won't find in Toronto.
Yeah, sometimes I sit out here and work, so there's like a little sitting area. Out here is basically, that's kind of the views.
The marketing professional made the move after his company started working remotely.
And as time dragged on, I think for me, what happened was I started wondering and sort of questioning the value of staying in Toronto.
Don't you just love wood paneling?
Oh, I mean, the more the better.
You do love wood paneling.
This Parkdale couple is also mulling a move after road tripping around Ontario mid-pandemic.
And so we just realized that these places are all really different, and you couldn't really just kind of tell from like a weekend getaway, like if it was somewhere you'd want to live.
We'd be driving around and I'd be making note of people as we pass by. I'd be like, oh, that's a person of color. There's another one right there. And, you know, growing up in Toronto, like living here your whole life, you don't realize you're doing that until you leave Toronto and like diversity drops.
The pair launched a website called 90 Minutes from Toronto, analyzing the demographics, prices, and culture in towns outside the GTA. Interest and traffic spiked fast.
There's the option of having like entire friend groups or like entire, you know, like loose family units, just kind of uprooting and moving entirely over to these new areas, which is, you know, it's nice to be able to create your own community.
Over the summer, home sales in regions far from Toronto outpaced sales from the year before, far more than the GTA, with Simcoe and Dufferin County sales increasing by more than 50%. The realtor behind that analysis isn't sure the trend will stick, but if it does.
Well, this potentially opens up new sources of housing supply.
Even, he says, in areas as far out as Barrie.
Builders weren't necessarily building in the far outer suburbs because there just wasn't quite as much demand.
And those possibilities could even be thousands of kilometers away.
I really do wonder if, you know, what the future of cities looks like if this, you know, remote work trend continues.
Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Sure looks nice back here outside. This is a live look at the Toronto Harbor. Now, as we prepped the show tonight, our newsroom had a bit of a debate. Our producer April was freezing as she came into work. Jess was ditching her scarf. I think I landed somewhere in the middle. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy has a look now at what's on the way for all of us. Colette?
Thanks, Chris. Well, you know, for anyone who wasn't enjoying the cooler temperatures of the last few days, I can't exactly give you a week like we had with that long stretch of temperatures well above seasonal, but I can give you a few days where we're going to certainly see some milder conditions and temperatures well above seasonal. So that's what's on the way. Temperatures nearly steady at the moment, but they'll begin to be coming up a couple of degrees as we head towards the morning hours. The sky's clearing up a little tonight, but not for it to make a huge difference. We're not clearing out entirely, that's for sure, for Thursday. The other thing is the winds will be a little breezy, but it's those same winds that are going to be pushing those temperatures up. So southwesterly flow for Thursday with the milder conditions. It lasts into Friday. Then Saturday temperatures knocked back closer to seasonal. By Sunday, we're looking at some showers developing. Cooler air means on the backside that system, some of those showers could turn into a little bit of a mix or at least some wet flurries there. Our daytime highs today, you really can see it illustrated here. Almost a 10-degree difference between Ottawa at -4 and what was happening in towards Windsor, 5 degrees. Chicago was twice that at 10 degrees, and that's the milder air that's going to be pushing in for the next 24 hours and then beyond that. So I say the sky's a little bit variable for the overnight period. Much more sunshine for southwestern Ontario, more ensured that sunshine that you'll be seeing into Thursday, but the sky is much more variable here. So at times some sunny breaks and a little more sun and then more cloud and almost mostly cloudy at times as well for the GTA and stretching into eastern Ontario certainly. Ahead into Friday, kind of similar conditions in terms of the sky conditions, but the windier day, look at this for Thursday. At times some of those wind gusts will certainly be exceeding even 60 kilometers an hour tomorrow afternoon. And then if I let this roll forward, getting even stronger at times. So something to be watching here, especially around the Niagara region and back towards southwestern Ontario. Some of those wind gusts could be up to 70 kilometers an hour, even a little bit enhanced from there. Overnight, this is what your temperatures look like, so certainly much milder than last night, right? Windsor 3 degrees tonight with that southwesterly flow. And how about this? 15 degrees for the high, looking very good, essentially double what is seasonal for this time of year in terms of that daytime high. And then overnight, those temps rising a little bit as we go towards morning. So this is kind of a snapshot of the middle of the night where the temperatures will be, and they'll come up another degree or two towards morning. And then this is where they're headed into the afternoon hours with a high going up to 12 degrees with that southwesterly flow coming off the lake. Yes, maybe just a tiny bit cooler there into Oshawa. But Friday, a little warmer still, up to 14 degrees. Saturday, that cloud cover rolling in, so overcast 7, and then we'll see the rain showers developing. And this is where I say we probably get into a bit of a mix. That's going to be Sunday night into Monday, as those temperatures will actually be falling off. So 8 early in the day, they're actually going to be dropping to about 4 by the time we get into the afternoon hours there, and continuing to go down from there, Chris, on Sunday.
The weather is brought to you by Trane, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. We test, so it runs. It's hard to stop a train.
Another quick break for us, but when we come back, the snow has already been falling, so why not put up the Christmas tree, right? Well, they did that already at the Eaton Center. That was just late tonight, and the typically packed event was scaled down, of course, because of the pandemic, but no less spectacular. Take a look at this, and we'll show you much more right after the break. Back in a flash. Finally for us tonight, a little Christmas cheer. The Eaton Center Christmas tree was lit tonight.
Ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Nice to see these annual traditions continuing for sure. The annual tree lighting looked, though, of course, a lot different. Not as many people there as officials hosted a private event without all of those crowds that they would normally have. And those who want some Christmas cheer there at the Eaton Centre, they can do that and get a glance at that towering festive tree starting tomorrow. I think we're putting up our Christmas tree on Sunday. That's the plan for us. I don't know about you. And that is our show for you tonight. Dwight Drummond has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6, and I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. See you then.